Good morning. I am Dr. Bera. I belong to School of Applied Science and Humanities, Haldia Institute of Technology, particularly to the section of English. Today I am going to deliver a lecture on three specific categories of transformation of sentences. First, we shall be focusing on active and passive voice and how active voices can be transformed into passive voice and the vice versa. So let us come to the first slide. We know that while learning English, while framing sentences for the first time, tense becomes very important for us. So most of the sentences that we learn in the beginning are in active voice. Now what happens in active voice? In active voice, the form of the verb shows that the person denoted by the subject does something. So if I say the Rama helps Hari, here the verb helps shows that the person denoted by the subject, that is Rama, does something, that is helps Hari. But when it is a matter of passive voice, the form of the verb shows that something is done to the person denoted by the subject. So if the same sentence is written in this way, that Hari is helped by Rama, then Hari is the person who is denoted by the subject and something is done to Hari, that is Hari is helped by Rama. So let us start with present tense and let us learn how active voice can be converted into passive voice. So in simple present tense, if the sentence is I eat rice, in passive voice it will be converted into rice is eaten by me. So how is it done? So the first condition of transforming an active voice sentence into passive voice is the verb has to be in transitive form. That means that the verb must carry an object with it, because the object of the active voice will become the subject of the passive voice in the converted sentence. So in the sentence I eat rice, that is in simple present tense, the subject is I, eat is the transitive verb and rice is the object. So when it is converted into passive voice, the object of active voice, that is rice, becomes the subject of passive voice. And in order to make the sense complete and in order to show that something is done to the person denoted by the subject, the transitive verb eat is converted into eaten, that is the past participle form of the verb. And in order to do that, an extra be verb in the form of is brought into the sentence. That is why I eat rice becomes rice is eaten by me. Similarly, if we come to present continuous tense, let us have the same sentence in present continuous tense, that is I am eating rice. Here also am eating is the transitive verb and the object of which is rice. So when I am converting this active voice sentence into passive voice, the object becomes the subject, the object of the active voice becomes the subject of passive voice. So here comes the subject in the passive voice, that is rice. But again, in order to convert the transitive verb eat into its past participle form eaten, we need to bring in an extra be verb, and that we have brought in the form of being. And why only being? Because this be verb is sitting after the be verb of continuous tense, that is. That is why the be verb for converting the principal verb eat into its past participle form, the be verb has also been converted into being because it is sitting after the be verb of continuous tense. Hence, the sentence in passive voice becomes rice is being eaten by me. Next comes the present perfect tense. So if the same sentence is written in present perfect tense, it becomes I have eaten rice. So let us convert it now into passive voice. Now while converting it into passive voice, again the object becomes the subject. So the subject in the passive voice is rice. Now in present perfect tense, the principal verb or the transitive verb is already in the past participle form. But again, to convert it into passive voice, we need to bring in an extra be verb, and that extra be verb is been. Now why is this extra be verb in the V3 of the past participle form? Because it has sat after the have verb of perfect tense. Anything that comes after the have verb of perfect tense, that is converted into the V3 or past participle form. That is why this active sentence I have eaten rice is converted into passive voice as rice has been eaten by me. Similarly, if we focus on the present perfect continuous tense, the same sentence can be written in this way. That is, I have been eating rice. So if we want to convert it into passive voice, again the object becomes the subject. So the subject is rice. And again the principal verb or the transitive verb will be in the V3 or the past participle form. But in order to do that, again we need to bring in an extra be verb, and that be verb is being here. And why has it become being? Because it is sitting after another be verb, and in order to get the sense of continuousness, continuity, an ing is added with that be verb and it has become being. So if we convert the sentence I have been eating rice into passive voice, it becomes rice has been being eaten by me. So with that we complete learning converting active voices into passive voice into present tense. Now we shall be moving to past tense. Now in simple past tense, we can write the same sentence in this form, that is, I ate rice. Similarly, when we want to convert it into passive voice, the subject becomes rice. And again, the principal verb will be converted into V3 or past participle form, and in order to do that, we have to bring one extra be verb, which is was here because of the past tense. So the converted sentence or the converted sentence into passive voice will be rice was eaten by me. Similarly, when we come to past continuous tense, the sentence can be written in this way, that is, I was eating rice. When we convert it in the passive voice, the object of the active voice, that is rice, becomes the subject in the passive voice. Now, because the sentence is in continuous tense, we need to bring a be verb which will carry the continuous tense. First, we must be converting the principal verb into V3 or past participle form, and in order to do that, we need to bring an extra be verb which will be sitting between the be verb of continuous tense and the principal and the past participle form of the principal verb, that is eaten. So the extra be verb becomes being only because it is sitting after the be verb of continuous tense. So the complete converted sentence in passive voice will be rice was being eaten by me. Let us now focus on past perfect tense. Although we rarely use past perfect tense and past perfect continuous tense, so let us have the same sentence in past perfect tense. In past perfect tense, the same sentence can be written as I had eaten rice. Now again in passive voice, the object of active voice becomes the subject, so rice is the subject here. And here again, like present perfect tense, the verb or the principal verb or the transitive verb is already in V3 or past perfect in past participle in the third form of verb, that is the past participle form of verb. That is why it is already in that form. But as we have learned that in order to change the voice, we need to bring an extra be verb again, which will be sitting between the have verb and the main verb, that is eaten. Since this extra be verb is sitting after the have verb of perfect tense, just like the present perfect tense, here also in case of past perfect tense, that be verb will be converted in the V3 or the past participle form. So the be verb becomes been. So the complete converted sentence in passive voice will be rice had been eaten by me. Let us now come down to the last form of verb in past tense, that is the past perfect continuous tense. In past perfect continuous tense, the same sentence can be written in this form, that is I had been eating rice. Now when we want to convert it into passive voice, again the object in the active voice, that is rice, becomes the subject, and just like any other form, this main verb eating will become eaten, because in passive voice we need to use the past participle form of the main verb, and in order to do that, again we have to bring an extra be verb. Now that extra be verb here is being, and this extra be verb is sitting after the be verb that has made this sentence continuous. That is why this be verb that is sitting after be verb that makes the sentence continuous, it has been converted into being in order to show the continuity of the action. Let us now move over to how voice changes can be done for future tense. So first, similarly we have simple future tense, that is if we write the sentence in the same way, like I shall eat rice. If we want to convert it in the passive voice, again the subject will become rice and the main verb will be in the V3 form, that is eaten, and in order to do that we need to bring an extra be verb, and that extra be verb has come in the form of will be, only because rice is third person. So the converted sentence in passive voice becomes rice will be eaten by me. Coming to future continuous tense, we can have the same sentence as I shall be eating rice. Now just like the other two tenses, rice becomes the subject and we need to have the V3 form of the main verb, that is eaten, and to do that we need to bring an extra be verb, and that extra be verb is sitting after the be verb of continuous tense. That is why that extra be verb becomes being, and the sentence becomes rice will be being eaten by me. Coming to future perfect tense, the same sentence can be written as I shall have eaten rice. Again, to convert it into passive voice, rice becomes the subject and the main verb is already in V3 form, but in order to indicate a passive sense of the sentence, we need to bring an extra B verb, and that extra B verb is being only because that extra B verb is sitting after the have verb of perfect tense. So the converted sentence in passive voice becomes rice will have been eaten by me. Now let us come down to the last one, that is future perfect continuous. In future perfect continuous, the sentence can be written as I shall have been eating rice. Now in order to convert it into passive voice, again rice becomes the subject. The main verb is converted into the past participle form, that is eaten. And we have again brought in an extra be verb in the form of being. It has become being only because it is sitting after the be verb of the continuous tense being. So the complete converted sentence in passive voice will become rice will have been eaten by me. So with that we come to the end of learning the conversion of active voice and passive voice and vice versa. Let us now learn how to convert direct speech sentences into indirect speech. Now what is direct speech and what is indirect speech? Now we can say that we may report the words of a speaker in two ways. First, we may quote his or her actual words, which will be called direct speech. We may also report what he or she said without quoting his or her exact words, which will be called indirect speech or reported speech. So the first point says that when the reporting verb is in the past tense, what all are the rules to convert a direct speech into an indirect speech? Now let us first learn what is a reporting verb. If we have a sentence like, say, he said, then comma, then open inverted comma, I am busy now, full stop, and inverted comma is closed. Now here in this sentence, this verb said after he, the subject, the verb said can be called the reporting verb or the principal verb. So if the reporting verb is in the past tense, all present tenses of the direct speech are changed into the corresponding past tenses. Like, if the reporting verb is in the past tense, a simple present becomes a simple past. Like say for example, if we have a direct speech sentence like, he said, comma, open inverted comma, I am unwell, close inverted comma and full stop. In indirect speech, the sentence will become, he said that he was unwell. So this I am unwell is in simple present tense, but only because of the reporting verb is in the past tense. While we are converting the sentence into indirect speech, it becomes, he said that he was unwell. So the present tense am becomes the corresponding simple past tense, that is was. Similarly, a present continuous tense becomes a past continuous. So if I use an example like this, that he said, my master is writing letters. In indirect speech, the sentence will become, he said that his master was writing letters. So is writing, that is in present continuous tense, will be converted into was writing in the indirect speech. Coming to the third point, that is, a present perfect becomes a past perfect. Let us have an example. That is, if the direct speech sentence is, he said, I have passed the examination, if it is converted into indirect speech, it will become, he said that he had passed the examination. So the have passed is converted into the corresponding past perfect tense, that is, had passed. The next point tells that if the reporting verb is in the past tense, the shall and will of future tense becomes should and would. So if someone says that he said, I shall complete my homework in time, in indirect speech, the sentence will become, he said that he should complete his homework in time. And finally, when the reporting verb is in the past tense, a simple past becomes a past perfect. So in two cases we can have past perfect tense in the indirect speech. First, when we are converting a present perfect tense in the reported speech, it will become past perfect. And similarly, if the reporting verb is in the past tense and if we are converting a direct speech sentence into an indirect speech sentence, then the simple past tense becomes a past perfect tense. Like if I say that he said, I did this. This sentence in the direct speech can be converted in the indirect speech like he said that he had done that. Now let us move over to the next slide. The first point in the next slide says that tenses may not change if the statement is still relevant or if it is a universal truth. I'm repeating again, the tenses may not change if the statement is still relevant or if it is a universal truth. Say for example, in direct speech we have this sentence, the teacher said, the earth goes around the sun. Now when we convert it into indirect speech or in reported speech, we can say that the teacher said the earth goes around the sun. We cannot say that the teacher said that the earth went around the sun, because it is a universal truth because of which even if the reporting verb is in past tense, we have to keep the simple present tense intact here. We cannot change anything. The next point says, if the reporting verb is in present tense, the tenses of the direct speech do not change in indirect speech. Say for example, the sentence is, he says, focus on the verb. I'm saying he says, that is in present tense, so the reporting verb is in present tense. So he says, I am unwell. So while converting it into indirect speech, the sentence will become, he says he is unwell. So when the reporting verb was in past tense, we converted it into indirect speech, like he said that he was unwell. But as the reporting verb is in simple present tense, nothing changes. Only he says he is unwell. Say for example, if the sentence is, he says, my master is writing letters. In indirect speech, the sentence will become, he says that his master is writing letters. Coming to the third point here, the third point says that the pronouns of the direct speech are changed accordingly in the indirect speech. So what I mean to say is, if we have a sentence like, he said to me, I don't believe you. Now in indirect speech, the sentence can be written as, he said that he did not believe me. Not, I did not believe you, but it rather becomes, he did not believe me. Because in direct speech, when someone is writing within quotation, I, so that person is the subject. And the subject here is he. That is why in indirect speech the sentence becomes, he said he did not believe me. So if we have a similar sentence like, I said to him, I do not believe you. So in indirect speech, the sentence becomes, I said, I did not believe him. Which says that the pronouns are changed accordingly in the indirect speech. Coming to the fourth point here, words denoting nearness in time or place are generally changed into words denoting distance. It will become much easier to understand if I give examples. Now, say for example, he said, in direct speech, he said, I am glad to be here this evening. So the word this and here in the direct speech are indicative of nearness. But when we are converting the sentence into indirect speech, it becomes, he said that he was glad to be there that evening. So here, that indicates nearness, becomes there, which signifies distance. Again, this is also converted into that. So this evening becomes that evening in the indirect speech. Similarly, now will be converted into then in the indirect speech, here will be converted into there, ago will be converted into before, thus will be converted into so, today will become that day, tomorrow will become the next day, yesterday will become the day before, and last night will become the night before. Now let us move over to the next slide. The first point in the next slide is, in reporting questions or interrogative sentences, the indirect speech is introduced by some such verbs as asked, inquired, etc. Let us have one or two examples. So if in direct speech the sentence is, he said to me, what are you doing? In order to convert it into indirect speech, it will become, he asked, in place of said, it will become, he asked me what I was doing. And then a full stop, not a question mark, because the word asked itself is indicative of the interrogative nature of the sentence. So even if, or although, the sentence in the direct speech is containing a question mark in order to show the interrogative nature of the sentence, In indirect speech, the word asked or inquired, all these words themselves convert the sentence into interrogative. That is why we do not need to put an interrogative sign at the end of the indirect speech sentence. So let us have one more example. The stranger said, "Where do you live?" This direct speech can be converted into indirect speech by saying that the stranger inquired where I lived, and a full stop, not a question mark. The second point in the slide says that when the question is not introduced by an interrogative word, the reporting verb is followed by whether or if. We can also say if the direct speech sentence or the interrogative sentence in the direct speech, the answer of which can be in yes or no. When we convert such a direct speech into an indirect speech, we shall use whether or if. See, so if we have a sentence like, say, he said, "Do you know the address?" If we convert it into indirect speech, it will become, he asked whether I knew the address. Again, if we have a sentence like, the teacher said, "Have you done the homework?" In indirect speech, the sentence will become, the teacher asked whether we had done the homework. Now let us come to the third point in the slide, that is, in reporting commands or requests, the indirect speech is introduced by some verb expressing command or request, and the imperative mood is changed into the infinitive. So basically this point deals with imperative sentences that gives you a command, requests you something. So let us have an example. If the sentence in direct speech is, Rama said to Arjun, "Go away," it can be converted into indirect speech saying, Rama ordered Arjun to go away. So this "to go," this is an infinitive format, that is to plus the first form of verb, that is the present form of verb. Let us have one more example. He shouted, "Let me go." The sentence in direct speech can be converted into indirect speech as, he shouted to them to let him go. Again, to let is an infinitive form, that is to plus the first form of verb, that is the present form of verb. And finally, in reporting exclamations and wishes, the indirect speech is introduced by some verb expressing exclamation. So if we have a sentence like, he said, "Alas, I am undone." This direct speech can be converted into indirect speech as, he exclaimed sadly that he was undone. Let us have one more example. Rohit said, "How clever I am." So this sentence in direct speech can be converted into indirect speech as, Rohit exclaimed that he was very clever. Let us now, and with this we come to the end of learning how to convert sentences in direct speech into indirect speech. Let us now come to the next slide and see what we have. We have the last category of transformation of sentences today, and this is called degrees of comparison. We know that adjectives have 3 degrees of existence. The first one is positive degree of existence. Say for example, I'm as good as he is. Then you have the comparative degree of existence, where 2 things are compared, 2 human beings are compared, like I am shorter than him. And finally we have the superlative degree of existence, that is the highest degree of the quality, and we use it when more than 2 things are compared. So let us come to the first point. The positive degree of an adjective is the adjective in its simple form. It is used to denote the mere existence of some quality. There is no comparison. Only the existence of that particular quality. If I say he is a good boy, good is an adjective, and that word good is in the positive degree of existence, because it is only telling about the existence of that quality in that particular person. So it is used to denote the mere existence of some quality of what we speak about, and it is used when no comparison is made or when the same quality of 2 things are expressed. The sentence that I have used earlier, that I am as good as he is, that talks about the same quality of 2 human beings. Coming down to the second point, that is the comparative degree of an adjective denotes a higher degree of the quality than the positive, and is used when 2 things are compared. As we have already discussed, if I say that I am shorter than him, it means he is having a higher quality than what I have. Finally, coming down to the superlative degree, which is the highest degree of existence, we can say as an example that he is the best student in the class. So when we say this, it means that he is compared to all the other students in the class, and he has come out the best, that is the highest degree of that quality of goodness. Let us now learn through a few examples how these different degrees of adjectives which are used in different sentences can be converted into other degrees of existence, but without changing the meaning of them. So if in positive degree we have a sentence like, I am as strong as him. If we want to convert this into comparative degree, we can write, he is not stronger than me. So on one hand, it is converted into comparative degree, at the same time we have converted it into a negative sentence as well. Now if you have a sentence like, few historians write as interestingly as Joshi. If we convert it into comparative degree, the sentence will become, Joshi writes more interestingly than most historians. So the sentence in positive degree says, few historians write as interestingly as Joshi. Now if we analyze this sentence, we understand that Joshi writes interestingly, and there are only a few historians who are at the same level as Joshi when we consider the adjective interesting. Again, if we want to convert this same sentence into superlative degree, the sentence will become Joshi is one of the most interesting writers of history, which means there are a few best interesting writers of history and Joshi is one of them. So the sentence will be in superlative degree, Joshi is one of the most interesting writers of history. Let us have one more example. If we have a sentence in superlative degree like this, India is the largest democracy in the world. If we want to convert it into comparative degree, it becomes India is larger than any other democracy in the world. And if we also want to convert the same sentence into positive degree, it will become no other democracy in the world is as large as India. Again, if we have a sentence like this in superlative degree, Mumbai is one of the richest cities in India. So if we convert it in comparative degree, it will become Mumbai is richer than most other cities in India. And if we convert it into positive degree, it will become very few cities in India are as rich as Mumbai. On that note, I come to the end of today's lecture. Thank you.